You're listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm chatting to the first ever legally blind D1 athlete. Born with no sight in his right eye and extremely limited vision in his left, this week's guest has never let his disability get in the way of his ambitions. Discovering the game of football in 7th grade, it wasn't until he was placed in the position of long snapper that he realised his full potential and became one of the stars of his high school team. Applying to college later on, he was offered a place at Tulane University, where he made history as the first ever legally blind person to play college football. Not only did he pave the way for others with disabilities in his sport, he was exceptionally talented at his position and landed himself a stint as an NFL free agent. Leaving football behind after college to work as a motivational speaker and coach, he now spends time sharing his story in the hopes of inspiring others. Offering up his words of wisdom, here's what it's like to be Aaron Golub. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. I like to start every episode by letting the guests know a little bit more about you. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a few details about your experiences growing up in Boston, I believe is where you're from.
Yeah, first off, thank you. So my name's Aaron Golub. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts in the US, and that's where I currently live as well. And so for those of you who don't really know much about me, I'm legally blind, and growing up legally blind, there were definitely a lot of challenges. So for me, I have no vision in my right eye at all, and very limited in my left, really to the point where you think of a hole that's maybe half the size of a dime, and through that hole, my vision is about 2,200. So what you see from that hole at maybe 200 feet away, I might see it about 20 feet away. And there were definitely challenges growing up, whether it be with athletics, whether it be with confidence, things like that. And it took me a while to kind of figure out what exactly I was going to do and how I was going to kind of fit into the world of athletics that I really loved.
Yeah, I think it's incredible what you have ended up doing, which we will get into more in a minute. But where did that want to play football come from? Because, I mean, I don't know too much about American football, I'm not going to lie, but I know it's a pretty high intensity, high contact sport. So maybe it's not the most obvious choice for someone in your situation. So where did that interest first come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always loved athletics, and I think football was just a sport that I really enjoyed a lot. It was one of my favorites, if not my favorite sport, and I just wanted to find a way to play. And so when I first started playing in like 7th grade, it was a position I wasn't very good at it, honestly, and it was something where I wouldn't play very much, maybe a little at the end of the games when we were up big or down big, and I did that for a few years, and eventually got really sick of just not playing, and I had to find that internal drive, and I said, let's find a position that does work for me, and then let's just work 20 times harder than everyone else to be successful at it. And that's really what I did from then on out is find a way to be successful, created a plan, and followed through on my actions every day.
And you've definitely done that and then some with your career. And it just shows, I think, that hard work really does pay off. And if you want something bad enough, there is literally no barriers or limitations that can stop you from doing that, which I think is incredible. And you're living proof of it. But I am wondering, were you ever nervous going into games or anything like that? Were you ever hesitant that maybe it could be a little dangerous even for you to play?
Not really. It was something where I had done it every day in practice, and I had really worked on playing. I had worked out in the weight room all the time and got very big, and it was something that obviously there's a danger for any player, whether you have sight or no sight. But I think it was just something that I knew there was always that risk regardless, and because of all the work and the time I put in, and I knew what I was doing, it was never something where I was really nervous ever going in a game or a practice. I knew that things would be all right, and I didn't really see it as having more risk than anyone else on the field.
And so you played high school football. This is where I'm going to get a little confused, so correct me if I'm wrong with all of the systems of it. So you played high school football, and then you went on to play college football. So can you just maybe explain a little bit about the process of applying to play college football or being scouted, or what happened for you next once you made that mark in high school football?
Yeah, so it was something where I wanted to play college football, and then, if a lot of people don't know, there's different levels of college football. So there's D1 AA, D2, and D3. And so D1 is the best, the top teams. And so my goal was to play D1 football. And I was contacting pretty much every school in the nation, just trying to make my way up there. Had some schools recruiting me. And through that same hard work, through the perseverance of reaching out, through contacting and not getting annoyed or upset when other people just said, no, we're not interested, or no, you can't play, I eventually got an offer from Tulane, which was the school I ended up playing at, their D1 school. And, was fortunate that I was persistent enough to get there, because I think if I had ever said, this is a little hard, maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe whatever had crossed my mind, I wouldn't have been successful at it. Instead, I said, what can I do to achieve my goal? And I continued to persevere through all the challenges, through all the no's, through all the failures, and was very fortunate that a D1 school gave me the opportunity to play.
So what do you think it is about you as a person, or where do you feel that you get that extra depth of motivation that maybe other people wouldn't have?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, something that I feel like I get all the time. And realistically, I think it's an internal thing. I think, I currently right now, I'm a motivational and keynote speaker, and I'm also a high performance coach. My partner and I run a group and one-on-one sessions. And what I talk about all the time is, you can work with me tomorrow. You can hear a speech of mine tomorrow. But if you don't implement those actions, you're not going to see any change in your life. And so the point being is if you don't have an internal drive, you're never going to accomplish your goals. If you rely on external things all the time, external things are great because they have that spark for you to start the process. They have that spark for you to succeed. But after a week, if you don't have that internal drive, you're going to stop doing what you're doing. You're not going to continue. And that is what it is. And it's fine. But the people who really push through and persevere have to have something within them that says, I want more than I have now. And if you have that in yourself and you really love what you're doing, it's going to be a lot easier to continue to push through, to continue to persevere, and to achieve your goals long term.
I think that's so true. But what would you say to people that maybe feel like they don't have that internal drive, whether for them it feels like they just weren't born with it or whatever? I don't know what the reason could be, but they want to start building that up for themselves. Do you have any tips for how people could do that?
Yeah, and first off, I think everyone has it. It's just you don't love what you're doing. And I talk about passion all the time. And I think if you are passionate about something, you're going to put in insane hours at it. You're going to work really hard at it. But if you don't love doing something, you're not going to achieve your goals at it. I did fine in college, like in high school, like grades wise, but I didn't get straight A's. But that's because, I didn't love school. I don't love sitting in a lecture and listening to a teacher speak and studying for tests. It's not who I am. But in the world of business, in the world of speaking, and football, I loved what I was doing. So I was willing to put in all that time and effort and achieve my goals. And it's the same thing for everyone else out there. If you're in a job that you don't love and you don't get excited to go to work in the morning, you're never going to be the top of that industry because you just don't enjoy doing it. You're never going to push yourself as hard as you could. But if you find a different job, a different experience, a different work, whatever it may be, that you really love and you're passionate about, going to work and doing your job is not work to you.
So you made history when you went to Tulane University to play college football as the first legally blind athlete to play there. So I know that's already a massive deal in itself. And then the world caught on and there was a lot of media attention and media buzz around you doing this. So I'd be interested to know, for you personally, how did that feel? And did that ever add any extra pressure onto you, or what was that experience like?
So I wouldn't say pressure. I would say at the time when it was happening in high school and college, I was not interested in the media attention. And so I had a coach who fortunately said to me, if doing this interview or doing this article or going on this show or whatever it may be can impact one other person and help them, then do it. And because of that, I did everything that the school asked me to do. But I didn't want to do it. I wasn't interested in the attention. I was interested in playing football. I was interested in going to college, being a student athlete, having fun, working. I didn't care about the attention. I think because of that, it didn't add any pressure on me. But then fast forward a few years and now doing what I'm doing today, I'm actively looking for that attention, to get on podcasts, to get in the media, to do all that, because my mindset shifted from, oh, I don't care, I want to play football, have fun with my friends, go to college, to I can use my story to really help and impact a lot of people. So I need to get it out as much as possible and have as many people across the globe hear it.
And I watched some videos, that you're in on YouTube, and read some stuff about you before this. And it seemed like once you got to Tulane, you had a really incredibly supportive team around you as well, in terms of the guys playing football and your coaches and things. But how did they react, first of all, when, they knew that you were going to come and play, but you had partial vision? Was it fine, or how did that go down?
I think there were obviously probably some nerves to begin with of just how can he do this, what's going to happen. But the bottom line is I didn't tell them I was going to do it. I showed them. And so from day one in the locker room, day one on the field and in the weight room, I just worked as hard as I could and just worked alongside everyone else and tried to outwork everyone I could. And people quickly saw that I wasn't just going to do that day 1 and 2, but I was going to do that every day for 4 years. And so because of that, I earned the trust and respect of others. Trust and respect are not given, they're earned, especially in the game of football when you go into a room and you're the new guy in the team. And because of that, and because of my work ethic and my ability to show other people, the nerves quickly faded because they trusted me, they respected me, and they knew that I could help them win and achieve a common goal.
I love that. I love what you said there about, you didn't tell them, you showed them. I think that's such a powerful message. And especially in this day and age with everyone, with so many more platforms being available for people to get their voice out there and things like that, I do feel like there is an element that people do a lot of talking and maybe not so much action. So I think that just really resonated with me when you said that. And obviously, you're living proof of the action that you took on that as well. So that's really cool to hear. And can you explain to me what Golub goggles are? Because I saw this,
Yes,
this is really cool. So I want people to hear about this as well.
Yeah, so my eye doctor, when I was really little, created these goggles that essentially show what my vision looks like as best as possible. Obviously, it's not 100% accurate, but it's the best that they could do, to show teammates or coaches or teachers or whatever it may be. And, throughout the years, I've had teammates or whoever wanted to try them on and see them. And so at Tulane, I know, I'm sure you're referring to the video where they were kind of shown in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of my teammates would try them on and see if they can catch a football or walk through the locker room or whatever it may be. And it was just really interesting and cool to, see them go through that and then hear their experience and the respect they had for me because of that.
Yeah, no, I did see it in that video. And I just thought it was such a cool way to have people understand and relate and maybe just step into your shoes for a fraction of a second. But it was really cool to see. And so then you played football for the whole of your college years. I never actually asked you what you studied while you were in college.
Yeah, so I studied finance and legal studies.
Oh, wow. Okay. 2 really demanding things to do alongside playing football at an intense level.
Yeah, it was, I was quickly understanding that, football is not a long-term thing. I tried to make the NFL. I was an NFL free agent and talked to a few teams, but didn't end up making a roster. But regardless, even if I had made a team, the average year, length of a career for a player is 3 years. And then you have to find something after. And I knew what I wanted to do after. I wanted to go into the world of business. And so I've been working in the world of business. While I was in there, I launched, my coaching program that my partner and I do. I've launched my speaking career that I do now. And you can never just rely on a sport to take you your entire life, in my opinion. Obviously there are people who that works for, but even, once they're 40, 45 years old, chances are they're not going to continue to play and they need something else to do. So because of that, take your education seriously and learn and find topics that you're somewhat interested on and learn about them so you have skills outside of the athletics.
And even though you do have that, heightened awareness of the realities of the situation with sports and you have such a solid plan B, did you ever, though, really want to make it in the NFL? And were you disappointed that didn't happen? Or was it always just a known fact to you that you were going to go on and do something different after college?
No, so I really wanted to play in the NFL, and I did my pro day, which was my tryout in front of a bunch of teams, and I did really well. And, with the position I'm in, there's only a certain amount of guys across the league, 32 guys, 1 per team. And if a guy doesn't get hurt or screw up, then they don't replace him and they have long careers. And because of that, it's just the chances drop significantly. And so, honestly, I think if I had really spent 2 years or a year or whatever, not working at all and dedicating my entire time to trying to make a team, I could have made one. But it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something after football regardless. And, I took the opportunity to kind of take a shift in my career and my life and go open a new chapter.
You did touch on this a little bit, so I apologize if I'm repeating questions, but I still think it's so interesting how you kind of went from the feeling that you didn't really want the media attention, you just wanted to play your sport, and then it just so happened that you had something that was newsworthy to them to kind of hound you about. But now you've decided to dedicate so much of your time to setting up a platform to share your story and inspire and motivate others. Do you remember maybe when that shift occurred, or when you did feel like you wanted to, create a full-blown business out of this and dedicate most of your time to speaking to others to help them better themselves?
Yeah, I don't think it was one exact moment. I think it's just a compound effect of things that have happened in my life. And I think I realized I wanted to be able to help others more than what I was doing. And using my story to help people is really impactful. And then alongside that, I said, I can also turn this into a career. It doesn't need to be, I'm just volunteering and speaking all over the place. I can actually get paid to speak and help other people. It's not one or the other. And because of that, I found it really attractive and something that I could continue to build and work on and grow. And it's been a lot of fun doing it. It's, I think it really just stems down to, like I said, I just missed the being able to help others with what I was doing.
And you also have a podcast as well called Blind Ambitions. So can you tell me how that's going and where that started?
Yeah, so we started it like a month or so ago, and it's really just along that premise of I want to get my name out there as much as possible, and I want to network as much as possible. And so right now I've brought in a few friends, but I'm networking and bringing on some other people in the coming weeks and months. But it's really just to get my name out there and to get other people's names out there and just to network. Like, that's plain and simple why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for any other reason. It's so I can meet cool and interesting people, and because you never know who's going to help you down the road.
What would you say if someone was feeling shy about reaching out to people, or, if they were maybe really introverted and they wanted to build a network, but they struggled with putting themselves out there? Have you ever felt, I don't know if imposter syndrome isn't the right word, but along those kind of lines of feeling like you maybe weren't deep enough in business to reach out to that person, or you didn't know what to say? Or how do you get over those moments, if you ever have them? I don't know if you do.
The bottom line is there's never a right time to do something. The right time is now, because now is not a good time. Tomorrow's not a good time. A week from now is not a good time. So just do it now and start now. That's kind of the bottom line of it. But the whole shyness aspect, I think this is something that takes a long time to understand. But you need to understand that everyone thinks that everyone is thinking about them, because you think that people are thinking about your world. And so it's the same reason why people are afraid to reach out to other people. People are afraid to post on Instagram, to post on LinkedIn, to whatever it may be, because they're afraid that someone's going to look at their post or look at their message and they're going to judge them. And that's not how things work. Realistically, someone sees your message or someone sees your post and think about you for 10 or 15 or 20 seconds, and they forget about you because they go on about their day and they're focused on themselves. No one is actually sitting there thinking about you for hours. And if someone is, then they don't have enough going on in their life.
Yeah, I love that perspective. It's so true. And the other thing I have to ask you is, do you miss football? Do you think you'll ever go back, or did you kind of leave it behind in college?
Yes, I miss aspects of it a lot. At this point, I'm not going to play again. I tried my stint in the NFL, didn't make a roster. It's totally fine. I love what I'm doing now, and I've moved on to a new chapter in my life. But do I miss the team, the camaraderie, the leadership, the everything around me? Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun and it's really enjoyable. But I understand that I'm on a new journey now, and I can still be around the game of football and not be playing it. I mean, part of my speaking is speaking to college football teams. I love, that's honestly one of my favorite groups to speak to, because I can be around them, be in their locker room, be at games. That's one of my favorite speaking events to do, honestly.
What does the future hold for you, do you think?
I'm in the process of building out my coaching program that I work on with my partner, and we've had success with it so far, and we're continuing to build. And then my speaking engagements, and I want to be known as the best or one of the best public or motivational keynote speakers in the world. And that's not going to happen today or tomorrow. It's not going to happen a year from now. But 10 years down the road, am I going to look back and say, wow, I've made it to the top 20 speakers in the world? I might, because I'm putting in action today to get there. And that's a really hard goal to get to. But to be completely honest, if I continue on the path I'm doing and put in the work I am today, I will not be surprised if in 10 years I'm one of the top speakers in the world.
I love that ambition that you have. It's kind of contagious. I'm sitting here listening to you going, yeah, I need to go and do this and do this. You're very motivating to listen to. And leading on from that, I would be curious to know if you had a personal definition of what success would look like for you.
Yeah, I think it's fulfillment and feeling that you provide value. And, a lot of people look at success and say it's how much money you have or the size of your home. And I mean, honestly, yes, I want to make money doing this. Everyone wants to make money doing it, but that's not the number one reason. You can be fulfilled in so many areas of your life. I want to be fulfilled mentally. I want to be fulfilled physically in the gym. I want to be fulfilled with the value that I provide others and how many people I help. I want to be fulfilled financially and understanding that I'm financially stable and I have financial freedom to do what I want to do. There's so many aspects of fulfillment, and you can't just hit one and expect yourself to be fulfilled. I know a lot of people who are very wealthy, but are not mentally or physically fulfilled and don't provide value to others. That's not being fulfilled. It's when you hit all of those kind of pillars that you really find fulfillment and you find success.
I have one more question for you, if you don't mind, and then I will let you go. If I put your 10-year-old self in front of you today, having been through everything that you've been through in life in general and then in your career too, what's the biggest piece of advice you'd give that 10-year-old self moving forward?
Work 20 times harder than everyone else around you and don't care about what other people think. I mean, it's literally plain and simple, and it's something that is most important to learn when you're 10, 12, 13 years old, because going through that stage of your life is when you may not be working hard because you're distracted by other things. And you probably, pretty much everyone cares about what other people think when they're a teenager. And so as soon as you can learn to not care about what other people think and to trust your judgment and only value your opinion, then you're going to achieve success so much quicker, because you're going to put in the work because you don't care what other people think of you doing.
Yeah, I love that. The not comparing yourself to others and not caring about what people think. A lot of people have actually, I asked that question to everyone, and a lot of people have said that, because it's such a thing that takes hold of so many people's lives without you even realizing. If you're not careful, you can literally construct your whole life based around what you think other people will approve of.
Yeah, and going back to kind of the success thing real quick, if you are constantly comparing yourself to others, say you want to have $1 million in your bank account. If you're only focused on that, then as soon as you hit the million, you're going to be like, oh, okay, now that person has 10 million. I need to get 10 million. And then if you eventually get there, you're going to say, oh, now this person has 20. You're going to constantly be comparing yourself, and you're never going to achieve success because you're always trying to hit that next goal. And trust me, there are goals you want to hit, and you want to have that ambition to always hit new goals, but it shouldn't be solely focused on, oh, I need to do this because this person does this.
Yeah, and I feel like the whole point of fulfillment is to be fulfilled within yourself. And if you're always looking to match the person next to you or keep up with the Joneses or whatever that saying is, I can't remember right now. But it's such an important message, and I think such a great way to wrap up this chat. It's been so interesting picking your brain about everything and hearing your incredible story, which I know is going to motivate and inspire everyone that listens to this. So thank you so much again for giving up your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please rate, share, and leave a comment if you like what you hear. And don't forget to follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. To find out more about Aaron and his story, visit the links in the show notes. I'll be back on Thursday with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luce.